Hello everyone, it's Karen Burniston here with your class day recording for our July 2026 virtual class. So we are featuring 4 dies this month: the Palm Tree Pop-Up, C Charms, C Stage Add-ons, and Stage Pop-Up. So these are the 4 dies that you had to have to participate in this class. And you are watching the class day recording, okay? So if you are a kit holder, because you can watch this class day video even if you didn't purchase a kit. But if you did purchase a kit, then ahead of this video, you needed to do your prep work. And your prep work is where you got your kit from those bulk materials down into 2 ready to assemble card kits. So if you didn't do that, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. This is pre-recorded, okay? So this is going to be right here where you need it when you're ready to do your project. So what I would suggest, if you didn't do your prep work, just go ahead and hit pause on this one or close this one out, and then go back to the email that you got from the store where you purchased your kit. So that should have arrived to you about 10 days before now, ish, from the store. And then in that is a link to the prep work video, and that's where all your detailed PDF handouts are as well. Okay, so between those handouts and that prep work video, you can get your bulk materials into something like this, where you have 2 ready to assemble card kits. So that's what you need for this video. Like I said, you don't have to have purchased a kit to watch this video, but all of those instructions and everything are behind the paywall because those are part of what the kit holders get. You can probably still get a kit for this class. We are sold out on our website, but we have lots of stores that make kits. So if you head over to our website, KarenBurniston.com, and you click on the events tab, even if this class is not listed, you know, I don't know when you're watching this video, but if this class is not still listed on that events tab and another class is, it's fine. It's the same stores that make the kit. So you can go to those store links and you can check and see if they have any left for July 2026, if you want to make them out of these exact colors and get all of those measurements and cool tips and tricks for die cutting as part of that prep work video. All right, what are you going to need for your class assembly video, which is this one? Okay, the main thing, of course, you need is your ready to assemble card kits that you created during prep work. Hopefully you've separated those into card 1 and card 2. Card 1 is going to be our standalone stage project with the palm tree. You did have a couple choices of greeting for that. So that could be a happy birthday card, that could be a general celebratory card, or it can be happy retirement. So that's a choice that you made during prep work. And then featuring the same dies twice in a class, I like to kind of change things up. So for our second card, we're going to do a top fold traditional card. We're going to use those C charms extensively here on the front of the card. And then inside, we're going to use half the stage, and we're going to make a modification so that it has an extra little pop-up back here. Then we're going to use that to animate the palm tree so that the palm tree does open. I don't know why that was stuck together. So see, the palm tree does open as the card is opened. And then one of the things that wasn't part of the required dies but was in your pre-cuts is a display helper. So a display helper is great because it can be used to hold that card open perfectly for display. So without it, you know, top fold cards tend to fall closed, or maybe you have to back fold a little bit and get it into the perfect position to keep it up, but then maybe it falls on its back, or you have to prop it up against something. So if you use that little display helper, which is sold separately, that die set, then it'll just keep your card open perfectly for display. And then when you want to close it, you just push that in and it closes. So yeah, fun. All right, I'm getting a phone call. Okay, back. Sorry, I got a phone call. All right, where was I? We were talking about what you need to do this video. So you're going to need your card kits, of course. And then for tools, because we've already done all the die cutting and everything, this is an assembly video. So you're going to want, your most important things are your scissors and your glue, right? So I like my LINECO neutral pH adhesive. I put it in a fine tip bottle. I keep a damp paper towel down in a jar. I keep that needle tip down in that damp paper towel, and that keeps my glue flowing throughout class. I'm not the boss of you. You can use whatever glue that you like, but just make sure it's a good strong one, because these are pop-ups that get open and closed and open and closed. So you want some glue. When we go to add our little L supports inside our stage, that's what's going to hold up like our extra little things in there. You can do that with glue. That's the best. But actually, if you have something like a little small glue dot, that can give you that instant bond. And I really like small glue dots for the L supports. I use that in conjunction with my glue. Doesn't end the world if you don't have it, or you could even use like a little piece of tape if you had that. Tweezers. I need tweezers because I got my nails done and they're kind of thick and I'm having a hard time picking things up off the table. So you may not need your tweezers, but tweezers can be good for, you know, placing things, you know, little, I don't know, turtle shells and things like that. So maybe you need your tweezers. For ink, card one, I always list the inks in the handout. So those of you who got a class kit, when you look at your, I need to fold this. When you look at your supplies down here, it'll tell you which colors, if you want to use my exact colors. So on this first card, I use blue, brown, and green inks with a blending tool. I use Distress Ink and Salty Ocean. That's the blue. Vintage Photo is the brown. And then the green I used as a darker one, which is Forest Moss. But, you know, use your own stuff. It's fine. And then blending tools for that. And let's see, does it say anything else that we need? I mean, you may want a black pen. I think we have to add turtle eyes. Let's see. So grab one. Just some kind of black pen that you can use to have some turtle eyes. I don't know that we need it. We did all our white gel pen in prep work. So, oh, and then maybe you want to have some temporary tape when we're making our island. That could be washi tape. It could be whatever to hold those two island halves together. I don't remember if I had you hold them together during. I don't think I did. I don't remember what I did. Anyway, so that's what you need, at least for card one. And then if you have something to contain your pieces, that can be great as well, because there are a lot of pieces that we did on this one. But yeah, all right. So we are going to start with our standalone stage card, Sun, Sand, Sea, and then whatever greeting you chose for the bottom. And I'm gonna turn my face off because I find it distracting, and then we're gonna get going. Alrighty, so the stage has been, oh golly, Karen, my goodness. Okay, let's put that in a spot you can see it. There you go. So stage has been just a very, very popular die set for us. It came out in our January release of 2026, and there are three. At the same time, there were 3 different add-ons you could get for it that would change the side panels. So the stage die on its own just comes with a plain, you know, straight panel that you can use around your stage. Okay, so it's extremely generic. But then there are some add-ons you can get, the C stage add-ons being one of them, that will add a new decorative edged, you know, side to your stage, and then it always comes with like a strip that matches that decorative edge that you can use across the stage. So you see where we've used that there. And then whatever else I can fit in that matches the theme. So in this case, you get a couple pieces of seaweed and a tiny little sea turtle and some fish. So that's the C stage add-ons. And then there's a party stage add-ons and a grass stage add-ons. And then in our brand new release, we have a new tool time stage add-ons. So that edge die would change it to this type of edge, and it comes with like screws and things that goes really nicely with our new toolbox pop-up. Okay, so we're going to continue to add things onto the stage. The other one that's new in our brand new release is a gazebo stage add-on, so where you can add this gazebo roof to the stage, and then there's a little bench pop-up that you can get that will fit inside. So just plan on that. You know, look, you have this, well, those of you who bought a kit, you have the stage add-ons. You're not going to regret that stage, or the stage pop-up. You're not going to regret that purchase, because we are just going to continuously be adding on to it, you know, as the years go by, because it is such a popular die, and because there's so much you can do with it. And you can make it inside a card, or you can make it just as a standalone. All right, so here's what we did during prep work. During prep work, when you want to add something through your stage using your L supports, you're going to use the little slot dies that come included in the stage die. So it's got 2 little individual slot dies, and then it has one that cuts a double that you can't see, but it's underneath here. And we used the double. So this is a single die that cut those 2 slots at the same time. But if you also want to add your decorative panel of paper, then the easiest is you add the decorative panel of paper to the cardstock that you want your stage half to be. Then you put your stage die over the top of that pattern paper and sink your slot die in, so you can cut everything at the same time. Okay, so that's why this is already partially put together, is because we did that during prep work. I mean, if you go watch the assembly video, those of you who don't have kits, if you go watch the assembly video for the stage pop-up, I believe I show that trick where you put the pattern paper trapezoid down onto your cardstock, then you put your stage die over the top, then you sink your slot dies wherever you want them. Because one of the features of the stage is that you can pop things up all over the stage, right? So where you place this is up to you, and you can put things all over the place. For our project, we're going to build a pop-up on top of the stage, which is our palm tree pop-up. So we wanted those slots to be towards the outside so that we could have our nice little island on the inside to hold our palm tree. All right, let's get going on the folding here. There is 1, 2, 3, 4 score lines in this piece. Those all fold as mountain folds. Now, something I didn't mention, but sometimes it's nice, is a bone folder to get your crisp folds. Now, I'm going to tell you something about this being a virtual class. A virtual class means it's pre-recorded. So I'm actually recording this the day before the class because it's been a busy week with our new release. So it's Friday right now when I'm recording this, and this goes up tomorrow on Saturday. So if you happen to be watching it on the first viewing, you know, on the premiere, then you'll notice there's a chat box somewhere. I don't know if you're on your phone or your tablet or your computer, so it depends to look at which direction. If you're watching the very first viewing, then you have access to me because I'm in the chat. So if you had a question, you could ask me. That said, you are also completely in control of the pause and rewind and fast forward buttons. So typically what happens with virtual classes is that the people that are asking me questions are usually the ones that are not crafting at the same time. So either they haven't done their prep work yet and they're gonna, you know, do it later, or they didn't purchase a kit and they're just interested in what our class program is like, and so they're just watching. So those people are probably asking me questions. But what that means is you don't miss anything by not being there at the premiere, because this is pre-recorded, so you can just do it at any time. And that means that you can watch me do all these steps first if you want. You can watch, pause, rewind, do it with me. You know, you're just in complete control. So what we're doing with both of these stage halves is we're going mountain fold, mountain fold, mountain fold, mountain fold. So just folding everything as a mountain. Okay. And then we're going to use that tapered tab to connect the two halves of the two sides together. Okay, you can do that in the flat position. So what do I mean by that? Put 2 panels forward. You've got access to that tapered tab then. Put your glue on there. Okay, fold this over and into that glue. Okay. All right, so there's half of the stage. Okay, and that'll flatten in both directions. Okay, let's do that again. With this one, all right, folding down, adding my glue. Oops, apparently putting my glue on my fingers primarily. Hold that, and then there we go. And again, that'll fold flat in both directions. You know what? I did not get that lined up very well. Let me try that again. You do kind of want it, you know, lined up well. So I don't know what I've done here. I've gotten a little bit off on my fold, so I'm going to fix that. Hang on. Let me do it this way. Probably lost all my glue too. Okay, what did I do? I see what I did. Just a little off on my fold there. I like that to be you know, properly lined up. Mine was a little bit off, and I don't like that. I like it to be properly lined up. All right, now we've got our 2 stage halves. So the stage pop-up comes with these little L supports, so a die that will cut 2 at a time, and it has a little fold line in it to fold under a little foot, okay? And these are what you use to go down through there and add those little supports to pop things up all over the stage. But another spot that you have, we're not going to do it for this project because we're planning on building a pop-up over the center fold. But if you wanted to pop something up directly in the middle of the stage, you can still use your L supports for that. You just wouldn't fold them, and before you glue them together, you just put whatever L supports you want in the center section, right? So you can pop things up right in the center. You can pop them through whatever slots that you put in the stage when you're die cutting. But we're not putting any L supports in the middle for this project because we're going to build an external pop-up over the top of that fold. So all we want to do is just glue those 2 things together. All right, so what's the easiest way to do that? Just shellac it with your glue. Okay. And then I do it against the table because then I know it's flush on the bottom, and then I look here on the sides, make sure it's flush here, and I can stick my fingers in there you know, and give it pressure all the way through that center stalk. Okay. Just looking that it's flush on the bottom, it's lined up on the sides, and then I can close it up like this, which is the flat position for that stage, is when it collapses in on itself like this. That's the flat position. So you can do that, and then there you go. There's the stage. All right, so we're going to put our L supports in. So let's see if I can look here on, I'm not sure that you'll be able to see very easily from the side. I see one's kind of coming up in there. Not too bad. Just a little bit. Sometimes people ask, which way, you know, we've got this little foot, right? So when you put it down in there, do you want the foot pointed towards the outside of the stage, or do you want the L support pointed towards the inside of the stage? The short answer is it really doesn't matter. What you really want is you just want it standing straight up when the stage is fully open. So you kind of have to do that yourself, figure out how to do it so that it's not leaning too far forward in the open position or leaning too far back. And especially when you're doing a double, because you want them both to match, right? Because you're going to put something across it. So find your L supports. They're blue. There is one little fold line in them, okay, that will fold under a foot. And I think what we'll do is we'll just do them both the same way, meaning we'll scoop them down through that slot and let those L supports sit so that the little foot is pointing towards the front of the stage right here, okay? Now, how's the easiest way to do that? This is where I like those glue dots because I get that instant bond, right? So if I take a little small glue dot and I pop it on the bottom of an L support, okay? Now I've got that glue dot there, and do make sure it is just on the bottom. I kind of hit over the fold a little bit. It just needs to be completely contained on the bottom, so no stickies sticking out any side. What you can do then is you can add a little glue as well, and then you'll kind of get the benefit of both, right? So now it's going to be an instant bond, but it's going to be really strong for that glue. All right, then I want to go down through the slot, and I'm looking to have that standing straight up when this is open. Okay, so as a little, and you know, the tweezers can be good for this, as a little guide, looks like the fold line ends up being almost directly over the end of the tab if you've got the tabs on the bottom, which you may not have the tabs on. Well, you probably do because we did this during prep work, so that's the top of your stage. So see, there's the edge of the tapered tab, and you can see the fold line of the L support is pretty much, you know, on the edge of that ish, or at least be consistent, right? So if that's where you've placed this one, okay, then when we turn it around and do this one, let's try and get it in the same position. All right, so pop a little glue dot on the bottom, or a little piece of tape. If you've got some tape, you could use double stick tape. A little glue over the top, okay. Down, and let's pop that on there so that it's sticking straight up. Okay, I got real crooked here. That's why the glue will help you, will give you a little repositioning time. Okay, how are we like that? Not too bad. This one's a little, see, I'm a little crooked in the slot. If it's just a little bit, it'll be fine. It'll still hold your slot across there, but if it was just like wildly crooked, then you would want to move it. Do I want to move this one? You know what, I think it's going to be fine. It'll be fine. Okay, but this one, I mean, boy, this one's placed perfectly. So it's nice and straight, goes straight up when, you know, it's parallel with this, and it's not crooked in the slot. Okay, this one I got a little bit crooked in the slot, but it will still work. Okay, standing straight up. All right, now let's find our other two L supports and do the same on the other side. Okay, well, actually, and then we actually cut 6 L supports. We only need 4 for the project, and the extra ones are going to be for an adjustment if we need to make it at the end of the project. Just you may not even need the other L supports. All right, let's do the same thing. A glue dot on the bottom. Oh, one thing I should have mentioned too about these virtual classes. So we also offer Zoom classes. So we'll do like a month that's virtual, which is pre-recorded. That's what you're watching now. Then we'll do 2 months of Zoom classes and then come back and do a virtual. So on Zoom classes, the students are in the room with me. They can stop me. The Zoom classes, you know, when I do a step, I'm going to stop and wait for you all to catch up. I don't do that on the virtual classes because you are in control of the pause button, okay? So I'm just going to craft at my normal speed. And if you kind of want to do it with me, you know, there's little times like this when I'm explaining something that you can probably like catch up to where I am. But at any point where you think, Karen, you're going too fast, or I need you to repeat that, that's what that pause button and that rewind button are for. Okay, so you are in control of that, and I'm not going to like put a lot of pauses in the video because I just don't know how fast you craft, and you've got a button for that. All right, so on the other side, I'm just going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to go in there and set it so it's straight up and down. Okay, standing straight up. Once again, the fold line seems to be kind of close to the edge of that tapered tab. You can also just close it up to give good pressure against it too. Oh, I guess it'd be up here, you know, to get a good connection. All right, last one. So glue dot on the base of the L support, a little bit of glue, make sure this is open. Perfect for its straight up and downness. That's technical. And then we're going to set that in there so that it's standing straight up. Perfect. All right, so now we have our L supports that will hold our extra bits of waves across there. And I think I am not going to put those, well, do we want to put those waves on now before we put our palm tree in the middle? We may want to, at least the one in the back. We may want to put the one in the back. Why don't we do that? Okay, so right now, you don't really have a front or a back to your project, right? It's the same in both ways. So you can choose. So if there's just happens to be some, I don't know, flaw or something that you know, want to have towards the back, you can decide what's the front of your stage. But this is going to set it because you're going to take a piece of waves and you're going to trim it so that it can go across those two L supports. You don't really want it all the way to the edge because you just don't want it to kind of get hung up on your stage sides when we put those on later. So see, I come a little bit in from it, you know, when I'm picking. So let me tell you how many waves I did. Basically, I did, so it starts in between a wave, right? It starts in between the wave. So I did that, and then I have 1, 2, 3 full scoops, and then I cut it between the next one, right? So maybe I'll make that match more the one on the other side. Something like this. Okay, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4 points starting kind of like on this side, and then 4 points or 3 full scoops. And then that's a nice distance to go across there, but come, you know, that will come a little bit in from the sides. All right, so for attaching it, your best bet is going to be glue on the base here of your L supports. Okay, now the question is whether you want to get, whether we want to trim them. You know what, I think we can probably trim them after. If you could trim them first, you know what I mean? So that you're not, it's not as hard to go in there and cut off the excess. But, oh, actually you don't really have to, that's right, we're going to put seaweed on these. So, so yeah, just let it sit kind of on the stage, attached to those two L supports. Okay, like I said, my tweezers are actually really nice for pinching those down, and then I can close it up, give it a good press, pops up like that. Wonderful. And then let's see what we're going to put on that is we're going to put some seaweed, but I did trim the L supports then to match the waves. Okay, so just go in there as best you can and trim off the excess L support. Okay, there we go. All right, and then we might as well, let's just go ahead and add our seaweed too. I'm just thinking let's get this back one decorated so then when we get into the palm tree, we don't have to reach back in there to do that. So the seaweed comes out of the C stage add-ons, and what I did is I did a bumpy seaweed on the left and a smooth seaweed on the right. And if you want to ink those a little bit, let's see, forest moss is the color I used on this one. It looks to me like I inked them both. Okay. So very optional. I mean, you don't have to ink them if you don't want to. Just a little bit of dark green on there. Okay. And then what I like to do is tuck them down into the slot a little bit. You know, they would work if you just did them up here, but then it's pretty flimsy. But if you get down into the slot with your seaweed a little bit, then that's going to be stronger. Okay, so I can look in there and say, all right, well, I can put the adhesive up to, you know, there-ish, right? So I can put my adhesive here, something like this. Okay, then go through the slot and attach it. Again, maybe I'm going to use my tweezers to pinch that on. Okay, get that started to set up, and then you can close it up to give good pressure. All right, and then our other seaweed, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go down through the slot a little bit. Oh, I didn't ink, you know what, I didn't ink the edges of my my waves, which I did do on my original, but luckily that's the one in the back. So if you wanted to try to hit those edges with a little blue, you could probably still do a little bit, but otherwise we'll just hit the one for the front. All right. All right, awesome. Okay, I think we'll work back to front. Okay, so now we're going to work on our palm tree. All right, so one cool thing about the stage, I mean, there's just a lot that's cool about the stage. So, you know, obviously it works as a standalone project as we're making in this project, but then you can also use it, you can mount it right over the fold of a top fold card, and then you can have that stage pop up inside a card. You need like a 5x7 top fold card. And then another way that you can use the stage, so you can pop things up all over it if you want to do that with the L supports that come with it, or you can build a lot of our pop-ups on the stage. So the palm tree is just one that fits on the stage. The tiny house fits on the stage, the snowman fits on the stage, all the boats, you know, the pirate ship, the cruise ship, all of that stuff fits on the stage. The new toolbox obviously fits on the stage. I mean, there's just a lot of our pop-ups. Any of our pop-ups that open to 180 degrees, you know, they're meant to be displayed in a flat card and then they pop up in the middle, are going to work well on the stage. The arch is a little too big, but the peacock add-ons, I did put the peacock on the stage. So remember, you can also build it as a side fold card. So you can do a lot with the stage. And we're going to be using one of my favorite all-time dies, which is our palm tree pop-up. All right, so the pieces I want you to find is the base, and then we need the two trapezoids that we cut, and we cut the base for the palm tree in them during prep work, okay? And this is the one where I said I think I have tape on this. I said I didn't know if we kept them taped together or not, and I couldn't remember. But it looks like I didn't anyway. Keep them taped together. So what we want to do is we're going to use those tabs to animate the trunk of our tree. Okay, so look here on the original. See, the tabs are glued right behind here and here of the base of the tree. And you're going to bring it close to the fold in the center, but it can have a little gap in it, which is kind of nice so it doesn't, those two edges don't kind of curl up and bunch in the fold. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just get real close together like this, you know, just like the ever so slightest gap between those two. And then if we take a little bit of temporary tape, okay, and we just hold those together while we work on our tree base, right? And then we'll trim it into an island shape, ink the edges, and glue it onto the stage. All right, so this piece, which is the base of our palm tree, let me show you with my pencil. You don't have to draw on yours, but let me show you with my pencil where are all the score lines in on that piece are on that piece. They're pretty easy to find even if you can't see them by looking at everywhere that there's a break, you know, that there's a change in the direction, because then you're going to find a score line there. So there's a score line right here, and here, and here, and next to that tapered tab. Okay, let me get close. See? So like this one's right in between those two, you know, and everywhere you see a break. So, you know, it goes here and then back up again at the point, at the point, at the point, at the point, point. There's a score line that comes out to the same point out here, you know, point, point, point. Okay, everything is a mountain fold, so everything folds away from you. If you throw your thumbnail in the fold and fold towards yourself first, that's a great way to kind of break the fold in the right position, because of course you could see it easier on that way, and then reverse it. That is, well, it depends, because some of you got Encore cardstock and some of you got Basil cardstock, because we had a whole cardstock change right in the middle of this class, you know, prep. Most of you probably have Encore cardstock, so I don't mean to say that it's, I think mine might be Basil. So sometimes brown, I don't know why, sometimes brown cardstock is squishy. So if you're feeling like, you know, when you fold it, it's like it doesn't give you the crisp fold, it gives you like that mushy kind of fold. It always seems to be dark brown cardstock. But anyway, if that's happening for you, hit it with the bone folder so you can get a nice crisp fold. But you might have the Encore, which is probably not doing that. It's not every brand, just some brands. All right, here. Another way to tell that you have it in the right position is the holes will line up when you're doing the one that's between the holes, like this one here. When you fold on that one, those holes will line up. And then one last one here. Ooh, I don't think I got that in the right spot. Hang on. Okay. So what we're making here with all these folds is basically a 6-sided base. So that little tapered tab will glue to the other side, and then you will have this 6-sided base. You can find a flat position for it if you take the one that does not have a hole in it and lay that on the table, and then you fold 2 panels in. You'll get your tapered tab right there where you can add adhesive to it. Okay, and then you can fold these 2 panels in, and it'll put the other one right over the top of that tapered tab. Okay, so that's kind of your flat position, is when it folds like this, where it's like kind of a smile and the holes line up, you can see right through it, and when it expands it looks like this. And it is in a flat position. It does need to be in the smile position versus frown. No frowns, right? Because if you tried to mount that on your card, it wouldn't even go all the way to the card, right? Because it needs to be this way, where it's flush on the bottom. That's the way it goes. And you'll see this shape, this kind of trapezoid shape on the 2 sides that don't have any holes in them, is the same shape, the same exact shape as that tab that you've cut into your trapezoid. And that is what's going to happen, is we're going to glue that flat side of that brown base right over that tab that's in the 2 trapezoids, the sand colored tab. So your adhesive would go here on your sand colored tab. Okay, then you take one of those smooth side ones, the ones that doesn't have a hole in it, and get it all the way flush. Okay, and you can reach through with a finger or a pinky or something to give pressure against it. So there's my pinky in there. Okay, pressing against it, and you want it flush down to the base. Okay, and then we just turn this around, do the same thing over here. So, adhesive here. Get that over the top of it. Okay, maybe pinky through. You can either, you know, hold it from the top, or you can pinky through the hole and give it good pressure. All right, and now we have the palm tree base is attached to our two sand colored trapezoids, and you'll see that they will fold up and open just like that. You guys can probably hear Yoda snoring, so my dog is quite the snorer. I've at least got him where he's not on my lap anymore. He's actually on the floor in a bed that I got for him that is like quite squishy, and he's kind of cocooned in there. But maybe it's just like a little too comfortable because he's snoring, which is probably showing up on the video. Okay, I'm gonna hit pause for a second. I'm gonna wake up the dog, and then I'll be back. All right, I am back. Now, what we're going to do here with this piece is we're actually going to trim it into just a freehand kind of island shape, okay? So if you're like, ooh, I don't know if I can do that by hand, you could turn it over and you could kind of draw yourself a little island on the back, maybe just before you start cutting, and say, okay, maybe I like something like this, you know? Right? Okay, so then just take your scissors and just go in there and cut it. It can be, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. These are the edges of an island that's meeting the sea, right? So it doesn't have to be all that straight or perfect or symmetrical or anything like that. It just has to be some kind of island. In fact, it looks like I did kind of a smaller island, so I'm doing a smaller island for this one, but it doesn't, see, doesn't matter. The main thing is you just have to keep it, you know, you have to trim it enough that it's not going to crash into your two extra strips, right? And then if you want to hit the edges of that now, let's see, where's my tape? I think I cut through my tape on some sides here. I don't want the, hang on. I don't want the tape right up to the edge because it'll interfere with my ink. So maybe I'll take a little bit of that tape off. Okay, cool. I can get to the edge on that side. Let me see what up this side. Pull it back. Take some tape off. Okay. So now I should be able to take my vintage photo. My favorite thing with vintage photo, especially if I, you know, is to like just see what's already on my thing. You know what I mean? Before I even ink it, just see how much ink is on it. I like to go around one time with that because maybe that's enough. And it's always easy to add more ink and much harder to take it off. So I'm just going to go around and see if that gives me enough tint that I like it. It does look like I was a little bit darker on this one, so maybe I am going to go around one more time with a little bit of ink on it. And I'm kind of like purposely doing it up in the air where it's like flicking the edge so that it kind of travels inward a little bit. So I'm not just doing it like right on the edge. I'm letting some of that color come up onto the sand a little bit too, but that's to your liking. All right, and there is no up or down to this. It's the same both ways, okay? All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to glue that now onto the stage, and it's important that we line up the gap in the sand with the gap of the stage. But we can go ahead and take the tape off because now we've got the stage to, oh, yeah, silly me. Forgot about that. That was going to mask off my, my edges too if I went too far inward, wasn't it? Okay, well. See, I'm glad I'm taking my tape off now, so now I can kind of correct my harsh edges. Solved. Okay. All right, so see, I can still stretch it to put the gap in it, you know? So I can also just close it up and then get those two edges to line up with each other, and I could glue it to where it just comes to the edge there, and then put adhesive here and close the stage or stretch it across. So either way works. So I'm going to put adhesive all over this back section of sand. Okay. I want to get that edge I'm looking at the back edge. The back edge is the one that I care about. You know, I might just, I was going to say, no, I won't. I could flatten it a little bit, but I'll just do it in the air. Okay. Tweezers here. All right, so there's 1/2 of the island glued onto the stage. Okay, and then I can, like I said, I can stretch this across, put the glue underneath it and stretch it across and line it up. Or I can keep it flat like this, add adhesive all over it, and close the stage to attach it. One thing about closing a stage is maybe it hits here and it gets a little crooked or whatever, so, you know, I think I'm going to do the stretch across. Okay, so I can stretch across and then pull it out just a little bit so that I still have that little gap in it. Okay. And then just check that everything will fold up flat, and it will. Okay, and there's the base for my palm tree. Now, if you own the snowman pop-up, the snowman pop-up actually has the same exact size and shape base as the palm tree, but it has glue-in tabs. So the palm tree was built with these cut-in tabs, so we had to cut the tabs into our island and then glue our base to it. That's kind of nice because then, you know, like the tabs are the sand color and then the you know, this is the palm tree color. But with the snowman, everything's usually white. You can cut like this base and just glue it in. It has tabs that come in from the base and then they meet at the fold of the card. So you can interchange those two if you want to. So in other words, if you, I don't know, if you were doing this whole thing as an island, like you just wanted your palm tree on sand and you didn't want to have an extra piece over it, you could use that palm tree base. The snowman base, but still build the palm tree on it. Yeah. All right, cool. All right, let's talk about the palm tree itself. All right, palm tree. So the pop-up palm tree part of it, you've cut your 2 trunks. Let me get some of this trash out of the way here. Okay, so the 2 trunks, and we did a little stenciling during prep work. So the 2 trunks are cut on the same die, okay? And one of them has a slot up the middle and one of them is solid, okay? And then when you did your fronds, you've got the same situation. You've got a solid frond, and then you've got one that has a slot up the middle. So as you can imagine, slot goes with slot. Don't glue it together yet. And solid goes with solid, okay? Now, if we want to add a little bit of ink on the edges of those fronds, ooh, I was a little dark with that. Luckily, Distress ink does fade. Okay, a little bit of ink. I'll just do this other one too. All right, so there's some ink on that. I'm not going to do any inking on the palm tree bases because they're already such a dark brown. All right, so what I can do is I can take the solid frond and I can glue it to the solid tree. Okay, so that's step 1 when you're making your 3D palm tree, is some adhesive up here at the top, and then just glue that solid trunk to it. And you can see the contours of it, you know, that it just fits on there just perfectly. That little circle fits right behind there. If you go too low, you'll see brown coming up between these 2 things. And if you go too high, then these contours wouldn't line up. So try to get that. It's kind of important that you place that like at the right height because it's got to fit. I'm not doing this yet, but I'm going to tell you this, it's got to fit in this one, right? So that's the only reason I say try and get it placed on the bulb correctly so that the other palm tree will fit around it. Okay. So here's what you do. What's going to happen, not yet, but what will happen is we'll put those together like you just saw, And then when we glue this one on, we'll do it with the palm tree already put on the base and everything. And this half will glue to this half, and that half will glue to that half. So it's the same lineup spot, right? It just completes the slot. But we don't want to glue these together yet, because if we do, then we have to weave this through the slot, and we have to start bending things to get it in there. If we put this on our base, now we want to do it where we can see the cool white stenciling we've done, and it's going to be on diagonal. Okay, it doesn't matter which diagonal. It can be this way with white facing forward, or this way with white facing forward. So it doesn't matter. And what you're going to do is from the outside, the little tabs at the base of that trunk are going to hook through that hole in the base. So we get it through on this one, and then you go diagonally to the other side. So that needs to be diagonal. Okay, see that from top view, you can see here's diagonal with the white stuff forward. It can be removed. So let's say you put it in, you went, uh-oh, I went straight across right here to these two holes. That's fine, just take it out and put it in correctly. Maybe you did it on these two holes, or maybe you had it backwards where you can't see the cool stenciling that you did. Again, you can pull it back out of there, okay? So that's a nice thing about the palm tree. All right, so now this one's in, okay? Now we've got to take this one, and we still want the white forward. This one's going to be on the other diagonal, but we need to weave it down through that one so that it's hooked at the bottom. The trees are hooked at the bottom. See how you got a slot right here? So that needs to slot in right down there. And we've got to do the two hooks too. So it can be a little fiddly. See what you can do to hit it where you can wiggle the, maybe I'll wiggle the back one in first. Okay, so wiggle the back tab in. Okay, then here in the middle, I've got to get the slot in the slot. Okay, and then I got to wiggle this one in over here. Oops. Where are you? Where are you, palm tree? You're making a run for it. There we go, and wiggle, wiggle, wiggle until the tab is in. I got it. Okay, so quick check. So you got to hit all three. You got to get that tab in. You've got to get the slot in the center. Okay, and then you've got to get this tab in. All right, and you should see white stenciling forward on both trees. And again, if you had to, you could pull it back out of there again, okay? Now what we want to do is we want to take this frond and we want to go from the top. It's going to straddle the other frond, but it's going to be these two sides that are going to glue. You've got that tree right now, right? It's just going like this. So where's the best place to put the adhesive? That's a good question. Maybe here on the brown. Maybe we'll put it on the brown on that side and on this side. Okay. We're going to take that palm tree frond down. It's going to straddle the other one and into that glue on both sides. Okay. And there it is. There's your pop-up palm tree. It's going to flatten and it's going to pop up. So yeah, not hard. The palm tree is not a hard one to do at all, and it makes a really, really great base for our fireworks die. If you cut this out of acetate, you can put the fireworks on it, and the trunks. Like you don't have to use the fronds. So we did a fireplace or fireworks card. Oh, back in December, I think it was pretty cool. All right. Well, there's our pop-up palm tree. Now we're going to add some additional palm trees to it and dangle a hammock off of it and do more decoration. But I think what we'll do, well, I think what we're going to do is we're going to do that after we put the stage sides on, because the only thing about these extra palm trees that we're going to put on is we want to place them where these fronds are high enough so that as it comes down, it doesn't immediately crash into this. And if you do a low angle with those palm trees, then you can have like your palm tree hook over the top of that in the closed position. So it's better if we get this edge around our stage and then we add our extra palm trees. But we can put a coconut on our big tree now. So the coconuts, let's see, we cut those. So we did kind of a fun technique where we, well, no, I think this one we just inked and did the, did we shave? I can't remember if we did the shaving thing on this one or if we did it on the other one. Let me look at the card. can't remember. Oh, is this one? Is this one? Yeah, I can see the little bits of brown in there. We did kind of a cool technique during prep work on those coconuts. I should have 3 coconuts, as is my way of losing pieces every month. Even though I've had them in my baggie, I am not seeing my 3rd coconut. Okay, well, maybe it's stuck in the bag. I've got 2 anyway, so I'm going to put one on, you should have 3 coconuts. And I'm sure I do. I just have lost one. So luckily that's something I can add later. Is it stuck in my bag? My card one bag. I don't see it, y'all. Maybe it'll turn up, or maybe it's a goner. All right, well, my card might have just 2 coconuts for now. All right, so 1 coconut is going to go on the big tree. We just want to make sure that we place it so that it doesn't impede anything opening and closing. So I'm going to choose this spot on the front. Okay, just keeping it out of the opening and closing bits. All right. All right, then we can put our other wave strip, okay, across the front. This time I'll remember to ink it. So again, we're going to keep 1, 2, 3 full scoops, scoop, 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 and then 1, 2, 3, and then go next to this one. So that you got 4 points and 3 scoops, all right? And then if you want to hit that with a little ink, I'm using that, whatever is that called? Salty sea, salty ocean. Be a little ink on that. Okay, and then just like we did with the back one, we're going to glue that across and then trim the L supports down. Yeah. So adhesive here and here. Okay, put that across so it's sitting on the stage. Okay, I can close it up. Ooh. Huh. It'll be fine. Did I not center it? I didn't do a great job of centering. It's fine. It's fine. It's close enough. Okay. There we go. All right, then we can take our scissors and cut the excess off. Okay, and then I only put 1 piece of seaweed in here. I put a piece of bumpy seaweed. So bumpy seaweed, maybe a little ink on it. And then just like I did in the back, I'm going to put it down through a slot so it's sturdier. Okay. So I chose this right one, went down through the slot, and attached it. Okay, this is coming together. I'm liking this. All right, let me not lose my other, since I only have 1 other coconut, let me not lose that. And let's see, I think we're gonna work on our stage sides now. All righty, so let's get our stage sides out. So we cut these out of the pattern paper. So we're using a lovely Simple Stories pattern paper this month. And this blue, both the blue and the tan or the sand, it's solid on one side and then it has like the plaid on the other. And so since we've got the plaid up on top of the stage, what I wanted to do is I wanted to do the solid here and then do the plaid again for the decorator pieces. So we always have contrast. And I kind of like that you can also see the plaid then on the inside of the stage sides. So just kind of a cool detail. All right, so let's talk about these. So the solid side would be up, all right? So the side that we die cut into. So not the plaid side, but the solid side. And you're looking for the score lines. There's a tapered tab out on one end that's going to fold to the back. Then if you find the folds, fold them to the back. Okay, it'll have, it'll have three panels plus a tab. And do the same with the other one. So fold to the back. Okay. All right, so the way you do these is you flip them around and then you've got a tapered tab to connect here and you've got a tapered tab to connect there. All right, so what's the easiest way to do that? Probably to take one, fold the tapered tab in. So I've got plaid side up here, but my tapered tab is blue. And I add my adhesive to it. Okay, and then I should see the blue side with the blunt end, so not the tapered end, and with the waves both pointing there to the left. And I just line up that end, and what's nice about this one is that I can also line up all of the waves down the piece are going to line up as well. Okay, so that'll help you get it straight. So you want it straight along that bottom, but you can look at these waves and see if they're lining up. And then when we get to the other end, we just need to add adhesive in this tapered tab and attach it to the other side. And again, I can use the waves on the one side and the straight on the other to get good placement. All right, so there's our stage side. So that would be the same no matter what stage side you were using. If you were using the plain one that came included with the stage die, or if you were using the party or the grass or the C-stage add-ons. This is a perfect hexagon. So what that means is that that will work any way you go around it. But what I typically like to do is I like to have where the seam is, right? This seam right here where the two pieces have been glued together, I like to have that on the side of the stage. Both for aesthetics, because then you don't see a seam right here at the front. It's just this nice fold. But then secondly, having that extra bit of paper in there, especially since we've made this out of pattern paper, will make it tighter, and we want a nice tight fit. So I find the sides that have the tab, and I arrange those on the side of the stage. And then the way I add those stage sides is I keep this open flat on the table, and I bring this over the top. Okay, try not to get hung up on any of your seaweed or anything. And then I've got to wiggle that on to the stage, and it will be tight, and that's what you want. Okay, so wiggle that on. Okay, when you flatten out that that stage to where it's flush at the bottom right here and flush at the bottom right here, it's gonna be tight. Okay, and you do want that. Okay, you want it to be tight. So I'm holding it here so that it's flush here, flush here. I mean, it's flat, right? It's not sticking out, and it's flush here. Okay, I guess it's technically this way is the front. All right, then here's how I like to attach the stage sides to the stage. So now I've got it arranged perfectly, right? So what I do is I just push the stage out just a smidge, like that, on the front of the stage. Enough for me to put a little line of glue in that smidge, okay? I like the smidge and set method. So the smidge and set method is you push a little bit out, add a little glue to it, and then just slide it back into position again. So I've just basically got just a little bit of glue right in there, but I know it's in the perfect position all the way around because I'm doing this with the stage in its open position. I'm gonna go to the other side. I'm gonna push out just a smidge, add a line of glue along that smidge. Okay, then I'm gonna bring that side back in. Okay. Okay, don't push too hard because it'll collapse the stage, but you can kind of go like this and put a little bit of pressure against it. And then when you think that's set up, then the way you collapse the stage is you push down, okay? Then you can close it up and give a lot of pressure here where that glue is and here, okay? Now you can, that's enough to hold it on, but you have a needle, if you have a needle tip glue, you can, here where it's like not, it's just like partially open, from the top, you can go in and squirt a little bit more glue along there, okay? And then you can give it a press in that flat position. It's already set, so now we're just kind of adding a little bit of extra glue. And I can do the same thing on the back. So I've got that needle tip. I can go down in there, squirt a little glue along there. Okay. Give it a press. There we go. And it's tight, and you want it to be tight because tight is what makes it, stay open on the table. Okay. So we don't want it to fall back out like this every time. If it does, we have an adjustment for that. But right now, what you're hoping to see is you're hoping it to be tight when you pop it up. All right, let's add some decorator panels around the stage and to the bottom, and then we'll work on those extra palm trees and things, okay? So you can do the rectangles. Now, we could have done it even before we put the stage sides on, but it's fine to do it afterwards. You have 6 rectangles that were cut out of the plaid paper. And I honestly have no idea if the plaid is supposed to line up. I'm not going to worry about that at all. I'm just going to glue those on. Okay, so we'll go all the way around the stage with those. And what I'm doing is I'm just looking at an equal border here, here, and here. Okay. Did I ink those? I actually did not ink those. I did ink the edges of the stage though, which I can still do. I always forget the inking. I forget the inking, but I can hit these waves a little bit with ink. Sorry y'all, I forget the ink sometimes. Okay, that wasn't too bad going around that way. And then I guess I can do the bottom edge too if I want to. I could just do it like this. All right, not bad, not bad. Good recovery, good recovery. Did I do, yeah, okay. All right, back to flat position again. Put those on. So we had 2 days of absolutely, well, okay, June. So now I live in Rochester, Minnesota, right? I used to live in Katy, Texas, Houston. So summertime differences, right? So June was glorious up here. Like you just, yeah, it was hard to work. Like you just wanted to be outside all the time, you know, bike riding and whatever. I mean, walking in the park and by the river. I mean, it's just amazing. And July has been a little bit more hot. I mean, it's all relative, right? So I'm used to like very, very intense heat in Houston. And but it's, you know, on the hot days, it does. I mean, it got up to, you know, in the 90s and stuff, especially with the heat index and all that kind of stuff. So we've had some hot weather in July, but the last 2 days have been like back to that kind of just mid 70s, you know, sort of glorious, not too humid. And it's funny, I said to my husband one day, I was like, I mean, remember in Katy when you'd have that rare, like slightly cooler day, and it would be like whoever of us first discovered it would tell the other one, just step outside, just step outside. And it would just be, you'd go out and it was just like, you know, the relief of the slightly cooler air, the breeze or whatever. So it's kind of like that up here, but just a little bit less intense, you know, not such big swings in weather. We can also add these trapezoids to the bottom of the stage. And I did it with plaid side up. So yeah, people have been kind of asking me, well, like, how's the move been or whatever? Well, we got through our first winter last year, and it was a tough one, let me tell you. But you get to the summer, and then you sort of forget about winter. So, and we haven't even gotten into fall yet, which is actually really glorious up here. I mean, the leaves change, and yeah, I'm enjoying living in Minnesota. Okay, here we go. Oops, I'm trying not to. Oh, I was right. This way. This is the front. Okay. Still tight. Good news. Good news, good news, good news. All right. So now we can start working on our extra palm trees and our hammock. Okay, so extra palm tree. So in the palm tree pop-up, you also get just a decorator palm tree. So it's not, you know, designed as a 3D palm tree. It's just designed as a curved trunk with a palm frond. If you want to hit those palm fronds with a little ink, make them match the big one, you can do that. All right, so for these, you're just going to glue the palm frond to the top of the trunk. So adhesive at the top of the trunk, and then just get that palm frond on there. All right, now you have 2 coconuts. I only have 1, so I'll put it on one of my trees, and then I'll add another coconut later. I'll probably have to cut one unless I find it on the floor or it just turns up on the desk somewhere. So I'm just going to put a little decorative coconut on there, and you could also put yours on this side over here too, if you want to. All right, then here's what we're going to do with those. Let me see if I can hold this way. Okay, so you've got one palm tree attached to the front of the pop-up coming up this way, and then you have another palm tree attached to the back going out this way, okay? And what we're looking to do is to find an angle, okay, where it's high enough that it doesn't kind of crash in. So if you're looking at it visually, what you can do is with the stage open, you're basically going to put that palm tree on there. You know what, maybe I'll put here's a tape runner. Let me just put a little tape runner on the back. So I'll do the one with the coconut. And you could do the same. You could put something like a tape runner, because you could always pull that back off really easily if you wanted to check it. So here's a little tape runner, and I'm going to weave that under my big palm fronds, and I'm going to attach it to the front, and I'm visually looking that maybe this edge of my frond looks like kind of lined up with that thing, because that looks to be about the angle that this one is. So it's kind of up, you know, it's traveling up. And then you collapse it and see if it clears, you know, if it goes down in to the stage without too much catching, right? So mine's kind of hitting right there. So now why is this one not hitting? We haven't put the hammock on, which will kind of pull it back a little bit too, but let's see. Why is that one not hitting? See how this one's not hitting? All right, so it looks to me like to make that, not that you couldn't just tuck it in, but you shouldn't have to, right? You know, I mean, you want it just to be able to close. So I don't like that it's coming to the outside. So I think I need to come up at a little bit higher angle, because that'll move it in just a bit. And of course mine's sliding because I just have tape runner on it, but like if I come up at a little bit more of an angle like this, let's see if I can get that tape runner to hold for a second. Okay, so it is now overlapping this, but then it folds down no problem. See? So you got to find that sweet spot where this doesn't hook over the top, unless you're willing to just kick it in each time, you know. But okay, so now I've found a good spot. I was going to see if I wanted to mark it. Nope, I'll just throw some glue behind it. Okay. I definitely want it to be glued on there, not... Okay, well, obviously I'm going to just find that spot again. All right, so here's my thing. So I want it to be something like this. Holding it on there. Let me check location. Yep, it's clearing. It's coming down. Okay. So it's kind of nestled in there a little bit. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Okay, it's going to go on the back side. Yours has got a coconut on it. I'm missing a coconut, and it's going to shoot out this way. Okay, but we definitely don't want it that low. We're going to have to get it up higher, once again higher, so that it can collapse down and not hook over your stage side. Okay, so let's see. This one I think I'm just going to go for it. So adhesive on the back of that. Do it kind of a upward, yeah, like about like that. Okay, let me show you. So it's definitely up, you know, there's a good distance here between this and this, and then it should, yeah, see, it's gonna, Actually, it is hooking a little bit, but it's okay because it doesn't impede. You know what I mean? All right. There we go, our 3 palm trees. All right, now comes the fun of attaching the hammock. So the hammock comes in that palm tree pop-up. It does have holes out on either end. And you have a piece of red twine, baker's twine, to suspend that from the trees. So the first thing I would do would be to cut your twine in half so that you have 2 pieces of twine. And then to get it through the hole, if you add some adhesive out on the end of your twine and roll it between your fingers, then that'll make it kind of a needle tip. And that should make it go through that hole pretty easily. All right, we'll do the same with this one. A little glue on the end, roll it between your fingers, okay, and get it through the end of the hammock. All right, so now we're just going to basically suspend the hammock from the 2 outer trees. Okay, so what's the easiest way to do that? No, really, I'm asking, what's the easiest way to do that? Okay, let me see what I can see what I did. Okay, let's see if I can do this like this. All right, so if I take this twine around that tree, okay, if I can pull it taut, hopefully have enough to take both pieces around and through. So basically just making a, I don't know what kind of knot that is. Both, oh, this one's the needle tip's not going around. Around and through, hang on a second. Really wanted to do those together, it's easier. Okay, I'm gonna start over again. Here we go, okay. Maybe if I got my ends even. All right, so here we go. We've got it around that palm tree. Okay, bring my 2 ends up. Now they're even, okay? And I want to get them around and through the hole. Apparently the hardest part of this class is tying a knot in the twine. Okay, did I get them both? Okay. All right, so now I can just slide my knot down until it's pretty close to the tree. Okay. See? And we'll end up like putting a little glue behind the twine to hold it in the position that we like. So basically you just want to get it around the tree with a knot, chop off the excess. Okay. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing with this one in this back tree. So just get it around the tree. Okay, get my ends even. Okay. Definitely fiddly, sorry y'all. Okay, and then around, see if I can do this easier this time. Apparently not. I also don't have my best eyes in today, so I have all these different choices of eyes. My best is when I wear my contact lenses with my glasses over the top, the special pair of glasses for over contacts. And then, but today I don't have those. I have my old computer glasses from where I just wore glasses, and so they're not quite as powerful. All right, I did it. All right, so this one's falling down the tree trunk, but that's fine. I can pull it up to where I want it. And then this one, just cut off the excess. All right, now just the adjustment, right, of finding a spot. So if I pull that knot up, what I like to do is just add a little spot of glue in the back to hold that twine onto the tree at whatever height I want the hammock, okay? And the same thing over here, or maybe not, maybe it doesn't. Yeah, let's do it so it doesn't. Let's make sure that it closes up. does. Okay, so this one's dangling right here. So I think I'll bring my knot, which is not very, wish I would have pulled that a little bit more taut, but I didn't. So, okay, that's fine. There it is. Now knot's on top. Now I just add a little glue behind the tree, just somewhere where the twine's going to hit it. And there we go. All right, hammock dangling from the trees. It all folds up flat. Yay, yay, yay. There we go. Cool. Cool, cool. All right, next up, let's make a couple tiny sea turtles. All right, so what we had you do with those, these are out of the sea stage add-on. So the turtles themselves are cut out of green. Can't tell, can't tell if I did any inking on them or not. You could hit them with green ink, but it doesn't look like I did. What I did do is I took a little black pen and gave, oh my gosh, I gave them really weird eyes. There we go, that one. Okay, don't look at that one. My pen slipped. Oh, you know what, maybe I'll just give them a little bit bigger eye on this one. Yeah, I've seen worse. I'll put him in the back. Okay, and then the shells, they're cut out of the sandpaper with double-sided adhesive on the back, so that'll bring out the emboss on them. So what I like to do is I peel up the liner so that they're stickers, and I stick it on my craft sheet, if you've got a craft sheet. If not, just, adjust as necessary. Then I take my vintage photo and I just swirl the ink on, and it'll be a little bit darker, of course, on top of the shell where all the embossed areas are. So I just do that in a kind of round manner like that. Okay, and then I'll put a shell on each sea turtle. All right, then what I did is I had one sea turtle. I'm gonna have the one that has the little bit wonkier eyes, kind of crawling up onto the island in the back here, with just a little glue behind it. I mean, you can put your sea turtles wherever you want to, but that's where I put mine. Come on, not on my finger. And then I can collapse it, give it a press. And then I put the other sea turtle kind of crawling like he was going to go get in the hammock. So for that one, I only want to put adhesive behind his flipper and this side of his shell, whatever's going to hit the pop-up, because some of it's going to be out over air, so you don't want stray adhesive. So just pay attention to where the adhesive should go, because he's obviously got a whole bunch of them that's not going to be glued down. Alrighty, getting there. All right, and then for the perimeter, I only decorated just these three kind of panels. So the sun, sand, and sea, so we don't make you buy stamps to participate in our classes. If we do use any of our stamp sets, we will print them essentially in the kits, and then you cut them out. And so we used find the cruise one. The cruise one is the one where the sun, sand, and sea came from. So this is a little cruise greetings stamp set. So there's sun, sand, and sea. And then the happy birthday to you or the celebrating you today, if you did one of those two, those came off of our new sea stage stamp sets. That's going to be a new one, so it's going to be way back here. Okay, so this is a set that was designed to kind of go with the stage. So these greetings here can be perfectly cut out by that rectangle that fits the side of the stage. So a little love floating your way, or celebrating you today. So you could have used celebrating you today. And then there's a happy birthday to you. So that's the one that I chose. And then importantly, this one has the little word push. So if you want to tell people what to do, I kind of think they'll figure it out, but you know what I mean? If it comes out of the envelope like this, and the little push can kind of help people know that they need to pull it up like that. And then if you did Happy Retirement as your choice, that came off of our fishing greetings stamp set. So let me find fishing. I'll show you that one. Fishing, fishing, fishing. It should be a little bit sooner than this, right? There it was, fishing. So fishing has got Happy Retirement on it. So you can use this little happy and then retirement. So anyway, so you picked one of those greetings for your base, and then you cut out your greetings. And we have 2 pieces of seaweed left, and we have some self-adhesive fish. Alrighty, what are we gonna start with? Let's start with the inking of our sun, sand, and sea, and whatever greeting you chose. So if you like it to what I did, which is like the brown from the bottom and the blue from the top, where they kind of merge together. So once again, I'd probably start with no new ink on your blending tool, and just do a swirl type of thing and come up from the bottom with the brown color. Okay. Okay, and then the blue. Over. So once again with the blue, you can do the same thing. You can kind of use the ink that's on it, or if you need to add more, you can. Okay, there's those. And then I used brown ink on the fish just to give them a little tint. I think. Oh, maybe I used did I use like a pink or something? No, looks like I just used Vintage Photo. Probably would, oops, those are stickers. Probably would hit the edges better if I took them off the sticker sheet. All right, and then a little bit of green on the seaweed. And I think on the seaweed, what I'll do is I'll hit the bumpy one with the dark ink, and maybe leave the straight one without ink, and then I'll get a little contrast when I put those together. Okay, here's my pieces. Now I'm ready. So here, you don't have to make it match mine, but this is what I did. So here on the front panel, I started with sun, sand, and sea. Okay, just right to the edge of the pattern paper, because it was cut with that same die. We just moved the die so that we could make it into a square. All right, and then that one's got a big fish kind of sailing in, or floating into, swimming, that's the word I'm looking for, swimming into the sun, sand, and sea. And then this one kind of off the edge of the pattern paper. And then that one is a big one. So if I rotate one, get the big one here. If I rotate 2, okay, so this one I did straight seaweed and then bumpy seaweed. How do I keep losing? There it is. Okay, so let's do straight seaweed. Don't get your adhesive all the way up to the top, because it's going to stick up higher. Oh, it's a lot of it's on it though. Okay, so a little bit in like this. And bumpy seaweed. Okay, and then a fish kind of coming out from the seaweed, something like this. All right, there's that. And then all I put on the bottom was the greeting. So whichever greeting you chose to use. So I did the happy birthday to you. Okay, so save one coconut. I'm done with my project, but I did want to talk about that adjustment if you need it. Okay, so we did make the stage out of pattern paper. I mean, the cardstock's a little heavier, but the stage sides are pattern paper. So that's a little bit more of a lightweight material. So if you don't have a nice tight fit like this, like if it's just always kind of trying to pop back open like this, like it's not coming up there and snugging to where it stays, you can use an extra L support to make that adjustment. And I did do it on this one. So on this one, you can see right here around that edge, I've taken a half L support, right? So if I took an L support and I cut it in half, and then I folded it in half, okay, if you think about that as like just a little folder or a little, you know, clamp that's going to go right over this edge right here, okay? Glue it down on both sides, and that will make this a little wider, which will make it a little bit tighter. You can do just one on one side and see if that snuggies it up enough, or you could take the other half one and put it over here. Don't put it on if you don't need it, because if you put it on when you don't need it, it's so tight that you have to really, really push to get it to close, right? So the sweet spot is that it just stays nicely for display on the table, which mine is doing great, okay? This one, obviously, I needed it, or else I just did it to show people. That one looks like I maybe used pattern paper instead of cardstock. So that's the other thing too, is if you think, well, the cardstock feels like it's going to be too thick, you could go to your leftovers and cut one out of the same blue and plaid pattern paper and try that if you need it. But I don't need it. You know, it's fine. It's great. It's staying open. It's not trying to pop, like it's not just doing that on me all the time. You know, it actually does stay open for display. But that's the adjustment if you need it, is you glue that over that, and then that'll make it tighter for display. All right, y'all. Good job, good job, good job. Let me see. Let me turn my face back on for a second. Here we go. All right, cool. We got through card 1. So now we're going to move on to our second card, which is our top fold Sending Happy Thoughts Explorer card. Seize the Day. I don't know if I really even knew what to call this one, but this one's going to be a fun one that we're going to do next. Right. All right, let's get going on card 2, which is our top fold card that has a modified stage. We're going to use half the stage with an extra pop-up on it, and we're also going to get a chance to add that display helper to hold that card up open for display. And yeah, use those C charms. We haven't had a chance to use those C charms yet. We didn't use them on the first one. So go ahead and dump everything out of your kit. Let's see if I can actually do a card without losing anything. That would be like tremendous. All right, and size of this card, I need to remind myself, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's right, 4.5 by 5.5. So I went a little bit bigger than an A2 size card, and that was mainly because of putting the stage in it and then still wanting, you know, I didn't want it to be right up on the stage. I wanted to have just a little bit of room on the outside. So I bumped up to 4.5 inches on the width, but kept the height to 5.5, which would be a typical A2. So just use an A7 envelope is what you would need for it. So top fold card, white cardstock is going to be our thing. Now I'm going to do something different than use my display helper. During class, I'm not going to use the display helper, because what happens is, and I'm going to end up having you guys do the same, is once we add that thing on. So if you close your card with the display helper open, it will weaken the folds in it, and then it doesn't quite work as nicely. So really, you don't want to use the display helper during construction, because you're gonna forget, and you're gonna like want to look at the front of your card, and you're just gonna like pop it closed right now, and then it's gonna like really crease in these folds right here that are meant to hold that card open. So it's not meant to be closed when it's engaged. So I'm gonna keep that unengaged, and instead, when I want to hold it open during class here, I'll probably just put a little, let's see if I have a clip that's a little bit bigger. Sometimes I'll just do something like this. I'll do it on the other side. I'll just clip it open, you know, so that it'll stay open for you all to look at, and so that I don't hurt my display helper in that process. All right, what are you going to need? So kind of the same stuff that you had last card. I'd still stick with your mini glue dots for your L support. Bone folder if you've got one, pair of scissors, your glue, obviously, black pen for turtle eyes. I'll try and do a better job. White gel pen. This time you will need a white gel pen for a little bit of detailing we're going to do. Tweezers maybe, you know, especially if you have thick nails. And then for ink colors, we're going to stick with Vintage Photo for the brown, but we're going to go with Tattered Rose or something like a light pink is a good one. That one's mainly going to be used for our jellyfish and our fish. Okay, that's we're going to use some kind of light, peachy kind of pink. I did Tattered Rose. And then we're going to go a little bit lighter on the green ink too. So I went with Bundled Sage. So lighter than that, the kind of forest moss that we used on the first card. Or whatever colors you have that you like. Yeah, all right. So I'm going to clip that so that'll stay open. And then let's start with the inside of our card. So we're using those beautiful Simple Stories papers. And so you have the two pieces that are floral. Those are going to be for the front and the back of the card. So we don't need those yet, all right? And what we're going to use on the inside of the card is going to be the one that's all the waves. And then, oh, I guess I have 3 of these, right? Because the wood is on the back. So, okay, let's figure out which one we want for the inside of the card. It doesn't really matter, but the one I used is the one that has the little tick marks at the top. I don't know why. I guess I like that one. So that one's going to go there. All right, so when you glue these on, and you can use your tape runner if you prefer, you're just doing paper to paper here. If you're new to using these glue bottles, this is the spot where I tend to find my students start over squeezing. They over squeeze when they're trying to do a big panel because they're just like, yeah, let's just get this glue to come out. It's more gravity driven than that. It's just a light squeeze. When you squeeze that glue bottle too hard, you're going to start seeing glue coming out in places that you don't want it to come out, okay? So it's a little needle tip. It's only 18 gauge, so it's not going to come out super, super fast, and you don't want it to. Just a light squeeze and some patience. That's all you need for that. All right, and what I would do is I would concentrate on these 3 edges up here, okay? So get those even, and it doesn't really much matter what happens in the, near the fold, right? Just, you want this even. Okay, now does this have an up or down to it? It looks like I did the crashing waves up at the top here, so this is the way I did it. I don't know. Yeah, I think it probably should go this way. I mean, you can tell from the back that is that? Oh, that was missing. I had to recut that when I went to do the pieces photograph. I could not find this piece, the jellyfish top, and I knew I'd cut it. And so look, I cut it again because I couldn't find it, and apparently it was stuck to the back of my pattern paper the whole time. All right, here we go. Now I wish I had found my coconut in the same way from the first one. I should turn my face off. My glasses keep slipping down my nose. Every time I look up and I see my silly face up there, I'm looking at my face instead of looking at my project. Hang on. Much better. Okay, same thing. Now with this one, I'd look at the bottom edges. So look at the bottom edges and get that even. Like here, here, and here. Okay. And then it doesn't really much matter how big the fold, the gap is in the fold, right? You barely even see it. All right, so now we're gonna do a modification of the stage. So let's look at what we did. We only cut 1/2 of the stage because that's all we need. We did the same trick where we took our trapezoid of pattern paper and we glued that to the white cardstock, then put the stage die over it so that this was centered in the opening, and then put our little slot die in so that we kind of were able to cut everything at one time. Okay, so this is going to be our modified stage. So the first thing we want to do is, let me remind myself. Yeah, okay. Let's go ahead and take the tapered tab and fold it to the back like normal, okay? Now this next one would normally be a mountain fold, but we're actually gonna fold it a valley fold so that we're sitting on top of the stage like this, okay? So let's just make sure we're doing this correctly because we're making a modification now, all right? So here's my stage. Tapered tab to the back like normal. Next fold, instead of going to the back, I want you to go to the front so that we've actually kind of accordion folded that on there, okay? Now what our instructions say, and just for those of you who don't buy a kit, just so you know, this is the kind of instructions you're missing out on by not buying a kit. because you get all these like great little diagrams and things to tell you what to do. So it says here we're going to fold the upper panels accordion style, and then we're going to measure to the center of the top edge 1 inch. Essentially, this right here is like 2 inches. So we're going to take our pencil and ruler, which I didn't tell you to get out, but you can use the pause button. Okay, and we're going to find the center of this edge up here. So this edge is 2 inches. See, it's 2 inches wide. So I want the center. There's 1 inch. Okay, I'm going to come off of that 3/16 in both directions. Okay, so what's a 16th? So on a regular ruler, you know, you've got 16 little tick marks in between each inch, right? So each one of those little tick marks is a 16th. So I would count 1, 2, 3. So I could, for instance, just put this 2 on my 1 inch mark because I don't care, you know, just some number on the 1 inch mark. I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3 little tiny ticks to one side, 1, 2, 3 tiny ticks to the other side. So what that's gonna essentially give me is 3/8 of an inch is gonna be the width between the outer two, and it's centered. Okay, so I don't need the center pencil mark anymore. Okay, and actually, I mean, you know, what these are going to do is these are going to help me make 2 parallel cuts. And those parallel cuts, you do not have to draw on yours. You're just going to do this with your scissors. But what you're going to do is you're going to take your scissors from this edge, and we're going to do doot, 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 doot right through all the layers, and we're going to stop when we clear this fold right here. So we're basically stopping at this location. So got my scissors, and I'm going to doot, 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 and I'm going to cut in until I clear it right there. Okay, so I got to start from over here with my scissors, and I only want to cut to that location until I basically, you know, cut through that fold. Okay, so right through all the layers, scissors, 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 and stop. Okay, over here, right through all the layers, scissors, 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 stop. Okay, you know you'll have it right because these two are now separated from that one in the center. Okay, and this one is going to be our upper platform. Okay, so you know, if you've gone a little bit past the fold with your cut, that's fine, but where we want it to fold is just pretty much, you know, even with the end there. So even if you just leaving it, I guess leaving it all folded up, you could, you know, now just kind of fold it over this way. All right, so that way you can find it right at the end. And then now this is going to be our upper platform. Okay, just like that. All right, so not too hard, not too hard. All right, we can fold this out of the way. Okay, we want that out of the way because what we have right here is we have just too much, just too much. What we want to do now is we want to just leave ourselves a little something that we can glue onto the card, and that's all we need. So we're not going to cut it on this fold line. We're going to come up into these panels a little bit and give ourselves a little, you know, just a glue in tab. So that's going to be our glue in tab. So just like that and like that. Okay, so that when we glue this in the card, we've got 2 glue in tabs. Okay, and then this one's going to come up and over and glue above it like this. So there's our back wall. Here's our back wall. Okay, so kind of a fun modification. All right, now we need to fold the other 2 just our usual manner. So we're going to fold, mountain fold, mountain fold. Okay. There's our modified stage. All right, and we can go ahead and glue this inside the card. Let me show you how we're going to do that. Okay, so let's first, I'm just going to put a little X in all the things that are going to actually glue to the card. So this upper panel here, that's going to glue to the card. This panel here is going to glue to the card. This panel here is going to glue to the card. And this whole entire underneath panel is going to glue to the card. Okay. And this one's going to be our lineup. Our lineup is going to be this panel here because we're going to flip this over. We're going to raise this up. We're going to slide this until it butts up to the fold and then it's evenly placed. And we're going to glue that panel down. That panel down is going to glue down on the water. Okay. So adhesive all over this X panel here. Okay, flip it over, raise up the back wall. Okay, I want to place that so that it's butted right up to the fold, and I'm looking to center it right to left so I can look at how much waves is showing, like how much blue can I see. Okay, but I want this kind of right in the fold of the card but not crossing it. And I'm gluing down this panel right now. Okay. All right, now I have to find the flat position of this card, okay? The flat position is going to be like this, okay? So I'm folding at the edge of where the sand is, so I'm not folding here, okay? That's not the flat position because it's actually crossing the fold, right? So I couldn't even close the card. That would not be the flat position. The flat position is back here, okay? And then for this one, I need to fold sand over sand, okay? And then you'll see that the little X panel is kind of sitting in that little opening right there, right there. Okay, so 2 panels forward. So 1 panel down, 1 panel, you know, the sand panel's down and the 2 white panels are up. And that is the flat position of our modified stage pop-up. Okay, make sure you get yours into that position. All right, then I'm going to add adhesive to my 3 X panels. This panel, and this panel. Okay, and I'm going to close this side of the card against it and pick it up. Okay, be a little patient if you're using glue like I am. Maybe when you open it the first time, just let it open on its own. Like, in other words, don't pull it open because you don't want to pull it off of there. Just let it kind of just spring open a little bit on its own where you can look. I can see right now that that right there is coming off a little bit. So I'm going to go back to closed position, give that a little more pressure. All right, I like that better. And then I'm going to go ahead and push against this fold right here to open the card. So instead of pulling from back here, I'm going to push against this stage. And then now I can kind of keep pushing. Yeah, see, that one popped off. Got to be patient. Patient, patient, patient. Okay, so push to open. And if you can go in there, get pressure against that little tab right there, that'd be good. Okay, but you can even kind of, yeah, that's popping that off. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to keep doing that. Don't keep going past where it's open. It doesn't really ever need to go that far, so ignore that instruction. Just open it until it, oh my gosh. Okay, Karen. I guess I obviously need some more glue. Pardon me. Okay, push. Okay, where's my tweezers? There we go. Okay. Could have used maybe my little glue dot or something to hold that as well. So I just got back from Texas. I was in Texas last week for Caitlin's crop, and it was really humid down there. And where we were in the hotel, we were at a Marriott hotel, and in the big like ballroom thing where the booth was, and we were doing like make and takes and stuff. And there was so much humidity in the air that the paper almost felt like moist. I don't even know how else. And like we were having such issues with the glue setting up, we were having to give it a lot of extra time. Not in the classroom, just in the booth where we were in the booth. We were in just a section where it was, yeah. Okay, there we go. There we go. One modified stage pop-up. Okay, that will close down flat. It will open up. Yeah, so just give that time to set up and it'll be great. All right, and then we can still, because we put that slot in it, we can still add an L support to suspend our cute little crab on an L support. Okay, so there's an L support in there. So let's find that L support. That one is white, I believe, right? White. There it is. Okay, so it's got that little foot. Okay. And again, it really wouldn't matter which direction the foot sits. I just happened to hook it, you know. And I think the reason I did that towards the center of the stage, well, actually, I don't know if I have a reason, because this one I don't really, I guess I just picked that. I don't know. It doesn't matter which way it goes. All right, once again, if you want to do a little miniature glue dot, that can be great for that instant bond. Let me find a glue dot here on the base, and then a little bit of glue. Okay, and okay, so our viewing angle for this one is a 90-degree card. So here's our viewing angle, right? So the stage is standing straight up. Okay, so when I go down in, I want to have that standing straight up with the stage, right? So really, I feel like I should go even a little bit further in, so it's kind of matching. I think it should match the angle of this, sorry, whatever this is doing when the stage is popped up, try to have this be the same as this. If that makes sense, that surface. Okay. And then you can go in there and give it a press in the closed position. All right, excellent. There we go. Okay, modified pop-up. That's awesome. Little clip there. Keep that open. All right, so let's see. What do we want to do first? Let's make ourselves a palm tree. Okay, so the kind of cool thing that we're going to do here with the palm tree is we're not using the base of the palm tree pop-up. We're just going to, so that's why we're going to kind of trim off those tabs on the outside. But we are putting it together like a 3D tree, so that since it's popped out away from the back wall, when it opens, it will actually open, you know, a little bit. You'll get that three-dimensional look. So to do that, we have to attach just one section of the tree to the pop-up, and then the other one just floats. See that? Just floats. All right, so let's make sure we build this correctly. So let's get our pieces out for our 3D palm tree. So we have our solid frond, just the same as last one. Okay, we've got our slotted tree trunk. We have our solid tree trunk. We should have our slotted big frond and our solid big frond. So for this one, we just used the white cardstock because I liked the look of the inked, the lighter trunks. We did kind of the darker trunks on the first one. So again, if you want to just not add any new ink to your blending tool first, just to, because you can always add more ink. So you might get a nice pleasing, I don't know if I inked both sides. Apparently I did ink both sides. I don't know that you really need to because you don't really see the back side of it, but okay, I'm gonna put a little bit more ink on it. Okay, it's not particularly important that I get out to these things. I'm going to take those off, but they're a really great handle for holding it while I'm doing the ink. And so if I flip that over and I hold those outer two, I can kind of get my brown ink everywhere. Don't worry if it, I mean, like I just tore mine, or I didn't tear it, but I just bent it out. It doesn't matter. We're going to end up cutting them off. Okay, there's that one. And this one, okay, flip it over, some ink on the back. And then, you know, while I'm in the business of inking, I could just grab my other little palm tree trunk, so the one for the smaller palm tree, and hit that with some ink too. All right, here we go. And then for the palm tree fronds, I'm using the Bundled Sage is the color I'm using. So a little bit lighter this time on the thing. All right. So let's go ahead and make our 3D palm tree. So if you remember on the first one, we took the slotted one and we hooked it into the base. Then we assembled this full tree, which we can assemble this full tree. Then we put it down in the middle, and then we put the other one over the top. We don't have a base this time, but the assembly of the tree is going to be similar in that we are going to assemble our solid tree. Okay, so our solid tree. Oops, get that right there. Okay, and then this one. Okay, it's going to slide. Well, you know what? Why don't we do this? Let's just go ahead and kind of round this off first. So what I did is I just kind of went up here and just sort of rounded it. Okay. Did sort of the same on the other side. Okay, that way I can add a little bit more brown ink if I need it at the base there. And then we'll do the same thing on the other one. I mean, you could even use this one as a guide if you want it to be similar. You could hold it over the top and say I'm going to cut it at like a similar, you know, or you can just do it by eye. So all we're doing is taking those side things off there. Okay, so now we're going to take this this tree down into that one, right? And then we've got to take the other palm frond over the top and connect it to that split tree. Okay, so just like we did on the last one. So if my adhesive goes here on the two sides of the split tree, okay, make sure it's pulled all the way up at the bottom. Then this goes down over the top of the other palm tree and then onto that slotted tree. Okay, there we go. There we go. Cute, cute, cute. Okay, I am back from just a little lunch break. So let me remind myself where I am. We are looking probably for some coconuts here. Do I have 3 coconuts this time? Or has my coconut issue continued? Okay, I see 2 coconuts. This is good. Let me say, oh, 3 coconuts, 3 coconuts, 3 coconuts. All right, so my other small palm tree. So a little bit of green ink. We can assemble that palm tree as well. Alrighty. All right, so so let me get these coconuts on the tree since I seem to have an issue with losing coconuts today. So I'm going to put 2 of them on the small tree. I'll do the 2 smaller ones, I guess. Okay. And then I'll put one on the big tree, so probably right there. All right, so now I've got my palm trees ready to go on my pop-up. So, okay, let's open this thing up here. And what I want to do is, as you're looking at your palm tree, and you want to see the pretty side of the palm tree forward, so you can see the stencil, you know, on all 4 versus that side, which is just plain brown, right? Then you want the back right section. That's the section of the palm tree that is going to glue to that pop-up so that the, you know, the opening part, the center of it, is out over air. Okay, so what's the easiest way to do that? I'm gonna put some adhesive up here on the front face of my pop-up on that left-hand side, and then this back section. And I'm gonna have my palm tree up in the air just a little bit because I want it to be able to swing open really easy. So let's see if I can get that started. Maybe I can even use my tweezers for that. Pinch that on. I don't know, did I do it straight up and down? Not really. I put mine at a little bit of an angle, but okay. So see, it's off the ground a little bit so that it can easily swing closed and then open. And then there you have it. So as it closes, the palm tree will close up flat, and then as it opens, it will expand. Okay, perfect. All right, and then this palm tree is going to glue here, kind of coming out this way. And yeah, I guess kind of wherever you want it to go. Obviously don't pin this part of the palm tree down because, you know, you want the big one to open. But maybe something like, got to keep it in the card, so go up at whatever angle you need to so that it stays in the card. Something like that. Okay, now let's work on that display helper. Okay, so the display helper, that was pre-cut for you in your kit from our display helpers die set. And I actually just used a lightweight, or specified a lightweight white cardstock for this, okay, just so it wouldn't have very much bulk in the card. There are 3 score lines in it. So there's a score line here, here, and here. And they're all gonna fold as valley folds, meaning you're folding towards yourself. So you've got a valley there, a valley up the middle, okay, and then a valley below the word lift. Okay, so valley, valley, valley. If you look at it from the side here, you can see valley, valley, valley. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to glue this upper panel here on the upper panel of the card, and then this lower panel on the lower panel of the card, and then there's no adhesive in the center sections, the left panel and the one above it, okay? And your center line is your lineup point, okay? So here in my card, what I want to do is I want to set it in there, like I take my thumb and I jam it in the fold, and then I'm going to slide in, and I'm going to put my display helper even with my patterned paper. Okay, so that kind of is up to you. Sometimes people put them like right out to the edge because then there's a little, you know, bit of the lift circle that's out beyond the cards, making it just a little bit easier to grab. But my favorite is to put it with the edge of the pattern paper, and then maybe just a teeny bit of the circle sticks out past the edge of the card, but I'm fine with that. Okay, so what am I going to do? I'm going to add my adhesive just on the top one first, so the top panel. Okay, again, my center fold is my lineup spot. I want it jammed in the fold, and then I'm going to put it so that it's, this edge is along the pattern paper, and I'm going to press that panel down. Sorry, it moved. Okay, so now just this upper panel has been glued down. All right, okay, so it's up to you as to whether you just glue the bottom panel down by eye. My favorite actually is to fold it up onto itself, so just fold it in half like this, and then I add adhesive to this panel. Okay, and then close the card. Okay, that's my favorite. Okay, make sure that is in there before I open it all the way. Okay. All right, so now I can give it a test, all right? I can lift, using that little thing, that center section, and reverse the folds, and you'll see that it will hold that card open just beautifully. Okay, so the folds get reversed for the center section, and look at how nicely it works, okay? Then I gotta push it in to close the card. Now, here's my suggestion. my suggestion is check that it works and then don't use it again, or check it at the end of the class, make sure it works. But the problem is like we talked about earlier, is if you engage it and then you forget that you've engaged it, sorry, my fingernails are so thick, then you run the risk of weakening your folds by closing it with the display helper in there. Okay, so I would check that it works great, holding my card open for display, awesome. Then I would put it in and then just not touch it again. Okay. So don't use that during class to hold your card open, because you'll forget and you'll close the card. Well, I mean, maybe you won't, but I would. So there you go. So if you find that you just really need to hold your card open for working on it, you can do what I did, which is take a clip or something, kind of where it's like partially over the fold, and that will hold your card open, which is a little bit safer. All right, now let's talk about these crabs. So we're using the C Charms set. So the C Charm set is a charm set. And so what that means is that all of the little pieces have a little charm hole attached to them that you would leave on if you were going to dangle it off of a pop-up or something. But because we are actually just going to use them as standalone elements, we won't need them. So if you find all your crabs, which I believe there are 4 of them. Yeah, 4 of them. Okay, we did the eyes we stenciled the eyes with a black pen during die cutting. Okay, but then now if we want to style it a little bit more, okay, you can take a white gel pen, and one thing that is an easy thing is just adding a little catch light in each crab's eye. So just a little catch light, the white pen. Okay, and then if you like what I did is I put just a little line over here and a little line over here, just to kind of highlight the claws, and then a little line down there and a little line up here. Did a little bit darker. Okay, so that's kind of how I did some highlighting. You might do something different, that's up to you, but I don't need that charm hole. Okay, so there's my first one. All right, so I'm just going to repeat that. I'm just going to do the same thing. So a little line up here, and a little line over here, and a little line right there, and then a little line over here. Oh, take the charm hole off. Yep, just pretty much did that on all of them. So a little highlighting line. You might have a different idea or better skills than me, but that's what I did with the 4 crabs. All right, so for one of my crabs, I attached his upper left claw to this small palm tree so that he was just kind of suspended there. See if you can see, right? So for that, I would use adhesive just behind that left claw. Maybe a little bit of his arm there, a little bit much. Okay, and then I just have to find a spot where he will maybe suspend it a little bit off of the, maybe that's a little too hard. He's kind of floating now. Let me lower him just a bit. Okay, that works. So just where his little legs are just kind of like right at or floating just a little bit above the sand. And then I attached one to this L support, and it looks like I put these 2 claws a little bit down through the slot, not much, but just a little bit. So kind of figure out this is a little bit too much L support, so take a little bit off. And then I can use adhesive down these 2 legs, a little bit of this leg, kind of up this side of the body, so something like that. Just kind of press him on like this to that L support. Excellent. All right, then for the front of the stage, we cut one of the C stage add-ons, and I said we're only basically going to use like 2 panels. So, you know, starting here from the right hand side, we've got full panel, and then we've got a score line. Well, there's a score line in here too, but don't fold on that because you don't need to. We'll just cut it on that score line. That should give us like the perfect width to go across there. Okay. And let's see. Oh, I put the and then I put this behind it. Okay, and then offset where the waves are. Okay. So for that, I would probably just put my adhesive along a thin line along the front of the blue, like this. And maybe I'll just do this on the table. Okay. Now I've got that sort of double wave thing going. All right, and then that's going to glue right here to the front of the stage. So for that one, we'll want the adhesive actually on this piece because this one's shorter than this one. So adhesive along here. You kind of want it along the bottom. You kind of want the whole way because you don't want it to bunch when it closes. So you kind of want it, you know, glued down pretty well on that bottom edge right there. Okay, excellent. This is all going swimmingly. Okay, now we've got this Explore journaling card that ended up not being a perfect square. So we had to cut the green cardstock to fit it. So rotate the green cardstock where you get the good border because it's not going to be right the other way. See? Okay, so rotate that so that you get the good border. Oops, that's not straight. Hang on a second. Try that again. Don't know that I did better. Oh, maybe my cardstock's not straight. That could be maybe my trimmer didn't cut perfectly straight. Okay, now I got it better. All right, so this is just going to glue down here, centered in this space. Okay, the space that's left. Here we go. Something like this. And then the last piece would be a crab over here. Now what I'm going to do is not put adhesive under this right to me, his left, my right claw, or just the upper part so that I can tuck this little instruction under his claw. And then when they take that out, they can discard it. Okay. So as I glue this on, I'm going to completely glue down the crab except for the upper portion of that claw. Okay, let's see where he's at. Something like this. All right, so then that Display Helpers does have a stamp set that comes with the die that will tell you can stamp on, like we stamped it, and then use one of the rectangle dies out of the stage to pop it out. So it says lift the tab for display, lower the tab to close the card. So if you just tuck that in, okay, then he can kind of hold it, but it's removable, right? All right, so that is the inside of the card. Oh no, wait, we got Seize the Day at the top. Seize the Day in our okay, so Seize the Day was from the journaling cards. So we just need our scissors to cut it at the color change there. You know, actually, well, apparently on my original, I just went by the journaling card, even though this isn't really centered. I mean, if that really bugged you, you could take a little bit more off of this side. And then I glued that up here And it looks like I didn't completely center it because of where the bow for the twine was going to go. So I'm just a little bit closer to this side. Okay, and I just use this top line right here in the paper as my line-up spot. So, right here. Okay, and then we're going to need to do, at least get our paper on the front before we can do our twine. Okay, so let's close this up. Make sure that your display helper is not engaged. Let's close this up and put our pattern paper, our big panels, on the front and the back, okay? And it doesn't matter which is which, you know? So you don't see a ton of this on the front because we're going to put that panel over the top, but it does look to me like I used this one that has the flower in the lower right corner and the fly. Yeah, I can see that this is the one I used on the front. Okay, make sure that you are on the front. So close it down, top fold card. Okay, so this is just going to center. Okay, and if we flip it over, we can add this panel on the back. And that is basically just to kind of balance the weight. I don't like it when the front or the top half, where the card feels really top heavy, you know? So I like to put a panel on the back to balance the weight. Okay, and then make sure you're turning it back to the front again. When you do your twine. Okay, so turn it back to the front again, check it, this is the right way. All right, so on the twine, what I did is I wrapped it, okay, so I'm going to leave myself a tail here because that's, I'm going to tie it in a bow right about there. So I'm going to wrap it, it should go around 3 times. Okay. I could use, I obviously gave myself too much of a tail. Let me try that again. Okay, a little bit less of a tail. So maybe a tail like that to there. Okay, around. If I only went around twice, it would be fine, but I think I calculated it where you could go around 3 times. Okay, then, space that out a little bit. We want to tie a knot and then a bow kind of right here in the corner of the paper. Okay. All right, there's a knot. Which one's the shorter one? This one. Okay. I usually make the loop with the shorter one. Okay. All right, then now I can pull those loops back until I get myself a small little bow. That could also just be a knot. Some people don't like bows. Knot would work as well. Okay, so there's a little bow. Oh, I did a much smaller bow on this one. Okay, well, let me pull that back a little bit more then. I don't think it matters. It's just to your liking. Okay, there's a bow. All right, before I snip my ends, let me space out my 3. So maybe something like that. You know, to your liking, just to your liking, to your liking, to your liking, to your liking. And then the tails are way too long. Let's see how long my tails are. Yeah, real short. Real short. Okay, so maybe something like that. And like that. All right. Oh, and I'm remembering too that if you like this look, I did elevate my top decoration on a little bit of foam tape. So you could use foam tape, or you could use some pop dots, or you could just lay it flush. So it just depends on whether you like the look of that being elevated or not. Okay, so for the front, we're actually going to be able to build the whole front collage on this piece here. And then when it's done, we'll just put some foam tape and put it on the front of the card. So I brushed the edges of this wood paneling with some brown ink. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to get all of these squares, or, well, here, I'm going to put some brown ink on the edge of Sending Happy Thoughts as well. But it does not look like I inked the edges of, I mean, you can, but I didn't ink the edges of the other ones. All right, so let me just move this out of the way. Here we go. This is what we're making. Okay, so we have Sending Happy Thoughts. We're not going to glue anything down yet. We're just going to find the pieces. So there's going to be a blue one down here. There's going to be a two-tone kind of sand and water down here. There's going to be 3 vertical water pieces. I think this one actually go here, and then we've got a sand square for up here. Okay, so the only one that is kind of like the top is like interactive with it is that I did have the crab holding the corner of Sending Happy Thoughts. So what might be best is actually to do the crab on the corner of Sending Happy Thoughts first, like glue this on like this, okay? And then he'll end up landing on the other one, all right? So for that, you would use adhesive on this, I'm sorry, on your right, this back claw that we didn't use any adhesive inside the card, and you could use it on the front of that claw. And then that is basically just right to the kind of corner, and then he tucks in, nope, like this. Okay, so he's attached. You can put a little glue under this claw too if you want. I mean, you can use these pieces however you want. I mean, you don't have to follow my lead on that. But if you kind of lay them out now to where you've got, you sort of have like about 1/4 of an inch, I think, on the corners and in between, you know. You can kind of lay them out and get a good placement first, and then we can start decorating it. So I think that looks pretty good. If you get your 4 corner pieces first, okay, then that'll set the location of everything else. So let's do it. I'm going to start here with this square that the sea turtle is going to go on. I'm going to put it up here where it's, oh, I'm putting it kind of over the that dark piece of the paper, and I'm trying to do an equal border here as here. Okay, and now the goal is to match the top edge with this one, which you could do by throwing, you know, a straight edge across there if you wanted to, and saying, okay, well, or you could just do it by eye. This needs to come about here then, right? Or maybe just a little bit in from there. Okay, now I've got these 2 on, then I can, nope, I don't want to do that. Okay, now I want to go to the bottom here. All right, let's just take these guys off for a second. All right, so this one, the square in the corner, okay, I want it to be even with that one-ish, and then up from the bottom a bit, about the same distance. I'm just kind of doing it by eye. Okay, then I've got my sun, sand, and sea. This one is crooked. Oh, and I ripped it. Okay, that'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'll just glue it back together again. Okay. And then this one, okay, is going to be at the same level as that, but also the same as that. All right, so here's what I've got so far. I've got the 4 corner pieces in. All right, so this one can just split the difference between those 2, right? This one is going to split the difference between these 2, which is going to kick the crab onto here. and then this one will split the difference between those two. Alright, so something like this. This one. I can put adhesive behind the crab too. Okay, sending happy thoughts. I'm looking at the left-hand side. Okay, and then this one. Here. There we go. So now we've got this cool grid work of our rectangles and squares, and then we can start filling in each one with little vignettes that we're going to make. All right, so C-charms. On the seahorse itself, we added double-sided adhesive to the back of the white cardstock so that it would be a sticker, and we actually sponged right through the die to put all of the detail on, and then used a black pen to sponge through the die to get the eyeball on. So I'm going to cut just the hole off, so I'm going to keep the little spike, okay, next to the hole. And then I'm going to put this on my nonstick sheet, and I'm going to take my brown ink and kind of hit it a little bit. I'm mostly focused on the edges and his nose. Okay, something like that. And then if you've got your white gel pen, you can add that little catch light in his eye. Okay, and then he is a sticker. So he's just going to go right here in this one. Okay. Something like that. All right, we've got fish. Apparently I only used 2 fish. I guess I didn't, you know, you could put 2 more fish float, you know, swimming wherever you wanted to, maybe swimming along here or something if you wanted to. All right, so I used a long and a short fish. And these ones I can tell that I used a little bit of pink and the vintage photo. Okay, so I'm using this tattered rose. Okay, and I think I'm going to hit the whole thing with the tattered rose. Okay. And then that did fill in the eyes pretty well, but if you want to have the black eyes like mine, you can just go in with a black pen and add a dot over the embossed eyes. And then maybe I only use the tattered rose. This looks pretty similar to what's on there. I think I'm just going to use the tattered rose. And then I put big fish, small fish. Okay. All right, jellyfish charm. So the jellyfish charm, this one was cut out of white. It looks like I hit it with just a little here and there. Mostly kept it white, but just a little shading here and there. And then the overlay of it is that one that we did the stenciling on. So sponge through it just like we did with the seahorse. And then that one looks like, again, it's going to be the tattered rose. The tattered rose over the top. Okay. And that will line right up over the jellyfish charm. I don't need the charm hole at the top. Okay, and then that one's going to glue here to this one. In all of these, you can absolutely make creative choices. So if you have a different vision for how you're using your pieces on the front of the card, totally fine. I've kind of become a bit of a fan of this sort of making like a little collage, you know, of shapes and different sort of vignettes on the front of the card. That's kind of my latest obsession. All right, I'm going to do solid seaweed or straight seaweed. I'm going to keep it the color it is, so I'm not going to ink it. Okay, and I'm going to put that so it's up near the top. Okay, and then when I do the other one, I am going to ink it with my bundled sage. Oh, forgot that's not a sticker. Make that darker. glue that over the top. Like that. And then the last thing is to make a sea turtle, just like we did on the last one. So we need eyeballs. Let's see if I can do a better job with my eyes. Yeah, a little bit better. Okay, and then that same thing with that shell. So if the shell is white right now with double-sided adhesive on the back, so if you peel that up like a sticker and hit that with that brown ink, and the top of the shell will get more color than the edges. Let's see. Okay, here's my cute little turtle, and he's going to go kind of on a diagonal in this upper panel right here. All right, there is the entire front panel of the card ready to go on there. So if you've got foam tape, especially if you've got one that's like a little thinner, like I have this kind of, boy, I've had this for years and years and years. Do they still make the 3M green foam tape? I like it because it's real thin. Because I'm just basically trying to elevate over the top of that, twine. But you could just glue it down if you want, or you could just use pop dots in the corners or something like that. I'm going to hit it. I guess I'll just go around. That's plenty. I probably could have cut those in half longitudinally and used half the amount of foam tape. Okay, so then that's just gonna sit up there over the top of that twine. All right, make sure I'm on the front of the card, which I can tell that by the twine. Okay, and then I just want to center that. And press it down. There we go. Card number 2. Ready to go. Good job. Like I said, you've got a couple fish left, so if you wanted to put the fish somewhere, you could, or maybe even on the back would be kind of cute. Maybe a couple fish down here. But yeah, so that card is a 4.5 by 5.5, so you would use a 5 by 7 envelope. You can use your display helper to keep it open for display. And then when you want to close it, just push it in. Right now it's not falling forward because it's not been flattened down. Like this one's been flattened down. It went with me to Texas, and so it was in the suitcase and everything. But that display helper just does such a nice job of keeping that open for display. Alrighty, let's see. Let me turn my face back on for a second. Although I have had a lunch break. I'm just gonna put my glasses back on. I tell you, I have all different types of eyes, you know, which eyes do I need? So I can see up close to do my crafting with no glasses, but it's easier for me to see the screen if I have the glasses on. Typically at the end of a class like this, I would show you what's coming for next month. I don't have those projects designed yet, but we're using the brand new release. And I'm waiting on my design pack. So my design pack should be here soon. But I don't know when you're watching this video. So by the time you're watching this video, maybe those classes are designed and you can see them on our website. You can go to KarenBurniston.com, click on the events tab, and it'll show you what's coming. So yeah, this was a fun one. I always enjoy the months that we've done our favorite dies. It's a chance for me to mix and match dies from different releases. So super fun when we make these favorite dies. This is my favorite. Okay, and I think that's it. That's all I got for you this month. So hope everyone had a good time, and hopefully we'll see you in a Zoom class soon. Okay, bye.